Alright, today we're gonna edit a photo. Or I'm gonna edit a photo and show you how I would edit a photo like this. And this is how I feel today, what kind of coffee I had and so on, because that affects how I edit the photo today. Tomorrow it might be different. And this is not applicable to all photos, of course, but it probably will work okay for this photo. And I will do it all in Lightroom. And I will do a lot of masking and a lot of stuff. And if you have questions about what I'm doing, please leave a comment and I will try to answer or make a video about it. The photo I've chosen is a photo I took a couple of years ago in Barcelona. This photo. And this photo is taken with the Sony ZV-E10. And that is what I'm filming this video with also. An APS-C camera with the Tamron 17-70 f2.8 lens. And as you can see, I'm at 1/500th of a second, f2.8 ISO 160, and at 55 millimeters on an APS-C lens, which is approximately 80 millimeters full frame equivalent. So let's start edit. We could just put a preset on it. Let's try my presets that are available on my website if you're interested. Link is down below, of course. Travel subject 1. Travel subject 1. It's a bit too bluish. Let's take another travel subject warm. That is very warm. We could cool it down just a little bit and we could raise the exposure, lowering the whites, raise the shadows, and it's okay. I mean, that would look good on Instagram, but we could do much better. This is before and after now. Before and after. You can see that the preset works, but we need to tweak it a little bit. But I want to start from the beginning, so let's press reset. And the first thing I want to do is to see if I want to enable profile correction, which I don't want to do, I think. No. And you can see that the picture is a little bit crooked, so I will try auto and see what it does. It's okay, but I want this statue to be right in the center, so I will just make it right in the center and see. That's good. That is what I like. Now we can start edit the photo. I want to raise the exposure just a tad in the beginning. Raise the shadows, and the shadows aren't as recoverable on an APS-C camera as they are on a full-frame camera, even though the pictures are great even from an APS-C camera. And I want to warm it up a bit, so I will raise the white balance, maybe also change the profile from camera standard to Adobe Landscape. That will make the colors pop even more. Yeah, that's a good starting point. Now I have to decide, what do I want the viewer to see in this picture? The statue, of course. The statue, maybe these lights also. I'm gonna show you a trick later on with these lights. But the statue needs some love, so let's make a mask and see if, yeah, Lightroom finds the subject right away. So we can raise the exposure just a little bit. No, well, yeah. 0.05, but we can raise the shadows, the whites a little bit, and maybe also some texture. I don't like texture on a whole photograph, but as a local adjustment, great. We can see if we zoom in that the face of the statue is quite dark, so I want to brighten that up, so I will create a new mask, and this time a brush. We can actually have some feathering on that brush and just feather like this and just brighten that up a little bit, just a little bit more exposure. Okay, maybe I need to raise the contrast as well then. Yep, raise the contrast, and then I can raise the exposure even more. Before and after. Maybe it's too much. Lower the exposure just a little bit. And if we zoom out, I think I need to lower the exposure a little bit more. Not much, but just a little bit more. Something like that. Now I want to do something about these black windows. So I will make a new brush. I will go to Auto Mask, take the feathering off, and then just brush into these black things like that. And you see it doesn't affect the green leaves because I have Auto Mask on. That is great. And when I've done this, I can then take the Auto Mask off and make the brush a little bit bigger and just paint in the rest. Like that. This is a little bit sloppy. No, it's fine. And I will do a trick that I often do on things like this. I will raise the clarity on these. There we go. And then lowering the blacks a little bit. Something like that. This makes contrast in the picture without adding contrast to all the picture. Before and after. Yep, I like that. Let's do something similar with the windows on top. Brush, Auto Mask, and then just paint in this. And then I can take the Auto Mask off, make the brush bigger, and paint the rest. These also have some white in it. I will try clarity. I'm not sure it's going to work on this, but I will try it. Yeah, it works, but not as much. But I will use these curves and just raise the highlights a little bit on it, but then lowering the blacks quite a lot. That. And because the wall is like a bit orangey, maybe we can make this window a little bluer. Something like that, before and after. Yeah, that's okay. Now I want to make this statue stand out from the wall. So I will do a radial gradient. And I will put it on top of the statue, just like this. Something like that. And then I will subtract subject. Great. It missed a little bit with the green parts here, so I'm not sure if I need to adjust that, but let's try it. I will lowering the blacks, see if that works. No, it doesn't. Lowering the highlights a little bit, lowering the shadows. No. Lowering the exposure just a little bit. Maybe blacks just a touch. And before and after. Yeah, it does something. It does something. And I'm having a trick. I'm doing a trick at the end also, so the statue will stand out more. Now I'm getting annoyed by this green. So I will just do a brush and just sloppy paint over this green area. And then take the eyedropper tool here and choose like a part like this. And fade that green out a little bit and also lower the green in luminosity. It still looks green, right? But it doesn't draw your eyes as much before and after. You can see how shiny the green was before. Now it's not. But I want the lower part of this image to be darker anyway, so I'm going to do a linear gradient. I'm going to do two. First, I'm going to do one quite soft, just lowering the exposure just a little bit, like that. And then I'm going to do one more, which is just the lowest part of the image, and then lowering that even more. And I will do a linear gradient at the top as well, so our eyes are drawn to the statue. just a little bit. Maybe now I can raise the exposure just a tad on the whole picture. Something like that, maybe. Yeah. Now, the lights aren't on. Why aren't they? Let's turn them on. A brush first with the biggest feathering, and then the inner circle of the brush I want to be inside of each lamp. So, and I'm just clicking one time like that, and that, and that. And then I'm going to raise the exposure. And we can see that the lights are turning on, but it's quite cool light. So I'm going to warm it up by turning the lights yellow. But I think we need more lights, so I'm going to do a radial gradient, and I'm just going to do it outside first because something like that. I want a big feathering on it. Something like that, and I'm going to duplicate it and draw the next here, and I'm going to duplicate that and make it a little bit smaller for the lights in the background, and duplicate that, and there we go. And then I will do the same thing, raise the exposure and warm it up. Now we have lights. So where are we? Before and after. The original is on the left, and what we've edited is on the right. That is quite cool. Maybe they are too warm. Let's go back to the brush, and maybe I can make the brush even brighter and a little less warm. Yup. And now, because there are lights on the sides of the statue, I want the sides of the statue to be a bit reflected by the light. So one more brush, and I'm gonna, a lot of feathering, and I'm just gonna paint at the brush is a little bit too big, so I'm gonna do it again. Brush, feathering, and just gonna paint on the side of this pillar and the statue. Something like that. And you can see that I'm painting outside also, but that will not matter because I have a trick in my sleeve. So something like that. Maybe also on the face later on. Now I'm going to intersect that with the subject. And now it's Lightroom is splendid on this. And I'm going to raise the exposure just a little bit, like 0.25. Warm that up just a little bit. And you can't really see that I've done anything, right? But if I turn it off, it looks like this. And it's too much, as you can see. 0.12, how is that? That is good. And I will do another brush, and I will zoom in, and I will just paint on the cheeks of the statue. Maybe the forehead here. And I will just do the same thing, raise the exposure just a little bit, warm that up just a little bit, like that. And there we are. And now let's see, is the picture a little bit too dark? So we can raise the exposure just a little bit, raise like that. And now I'm gonna do a small color adjustments here. Saturations. I think we can see what the orange is doing, but I don't think I'm gonna raise the saturation because I'm gonna lowering the luminance of the orange a little bit. That means that the orange will be more saturated also. And maybe raise the saturation just a little bit. The yellow, I think I will lower the yellow saturation and raise the luminance. Do the opposite. from the orange, actually. And I don't like this bottom part, so I'm going to do it even darker. Linear gradient. And let's lowering the blacks. I don't want people to see that. I don't want to see it. So before and after, that's quite a difference. Let's do some sharpening. And if we're gonna do sharpening in Lightroom, we can do it. And we can do it in other apps as well. I have a lot of programs that can do sharpening really, really good. But if we're gonna do it in Lightroom, I suggest doing it with masking. So if I hold the Option key on a Mac, I don't know what it is on a window, and I raise the masking, only the white parts of the image is gonna be sharpened. So I think something like that. And the detail, we can raise a little bit. Radius, I think smaller. And then I can raise the sharpening a bit. So if we do that, it's just a subtle difference, but it's actually doing a little bit for the image. And a slight vignette to make our eyes look for the center of the image. And that's it. That was an edit of a statue in Barcelona. What do you think? Would you have done something differently? Or do you have questions about what I did? Leave a comment. Thanks for watching.